You want some great Christmas tree tags like this? Stick around. Let's make some. Well, I'm going to start with VersaFine. It is a permanent ink, and I have some postage stamps on there. I love the splatter stamp. I use it a lot. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm going to have a script. As I'm laying down the color, I want it to be very light, very transparent, so I have more water than pigment. I'm using some earthy yellows, some gray greens, and I'm just getting it on the paper. Just putting some background and layering down. That's why it's really important that the ink stamp we just used, it has to be permanent because we're going to be layering a lot of things on top of it. And as you can see, I use my fingers. I really get involved. I move that paint around with my hands, with my fingers. You may call it messy, but I just say give yourself permission to have fun. Whoop, what just happened? Magic! I watch YouTube with so much fervor. When I'm watching something that I love, when I'm watching somebody do watercolor, I will spend hours just watching them, trying to figure out what did they do, how did they do it. I'll stop the recording and I'll just pay such close attention. But what I'm finding is not everybody has my YouTube attention span. I guess that's what I call it. So I've painted some trees, and I'm doing this one in real time to show you how I just lay that paint down. I love this. I call it puddling. So I get plenty of paint, and I'm using a number 6 round, and I'm just touching that, and I'm bringing that out. I'm not trying to figure out how to paint a tree. I'm letting the paint just do the work. So I just touch it and it just kind of puddles out. See how it just makes a puddle? And I just continue doing that. Always remember light to dark in watercolor. So what's kind of cool about this is the first time you touch your brush to that paper, it's wet on dry. That's wet on dry because I dry between every single layer. I don't want it to get muddy, and I've done that so many times. That's kind of one of those, ask me how I know. And I have to work at not overworking something. I look back and I'm like, oh, this, add that. But what I hopefully am trying to do is figure out how to lay that down and let it be, then come back and make a decision. So I've sped it up here because ain't nobody got time for that, right? But I want to show you what happens here. It's just makes me wild and crazy, that wet on dry right now. But then when you go back and you touch that paint again, oh, right there, it's happened. Did you see that? Oh my gosh. When you touch that paint again and you touch where you've previously painted, then it becomes wet on wet. It kind of puddles up. And leave some white space. Leave some space in between that to look like branches. Just touch it and just let your brush move and let it just become whatever that is, which at the end, is a beautiful, what I think is a beautiful tree. So I just keep touching it. My gosh, when it puddles like that, I mean, like if that was chocolate, I'd eat it. I love it. So here I am feathering it out just a little bit. I went and picked up a little bit darker because I thought, let's get a little bit of branches in there. But what I find out, like right there, what I'm doing is I'm starting to overwork it a little bit. So I just stopped. I let that dry. I got out my heat tool and I dried it. So now I have made a more sagey color to go in some of those blank spaces. And I'm just laying that sagey green in, just touching it in. There's no wet on wet here because I've completely dried it. Now, this is where I can so many times get something to a really great spot and then like, ooh, this, and then, oh, I'll put a little more there or fix that. And what I end up doing is messing it up. I don't feel like I've done that here, but I was right on the verge. And then I lighten it up just a little bit more. and I just have to touch it. I just have to. But be careful that you don't go back and overdo. What? What is this? Timeout? Hey, just wanted to take a short break to say thank you for watching so far. I'm finding out that to keep people watching is quite a job in YouTube. So those of you that are still watching, my heartfelt thanks. I need information from you. I'm just a brand new creator. So I want to know what you would like to see. I'm having a great time doing this. It doesn't matter if I'm having fun. What matters is if you, the viewer, find it valuable. What would you like to see? Would you like to see more grid journaling? I love it. We could do a walk through my art journal, things I've done, mistakes I've made. It's just so much fun for me. What do you want? Less talking, more bloopers. I've got lots. I'd love to hear from you. This is what we have so far. I have used the heat tool to dry each layer, but now it's time to add that earthy element. I use Tim Holtz Distress Oxide Ink Refill Vintage Photo. It's such a beautiful color. It gives that earthy grounding effect. And this is watered down because if you were to use just watercolor, it would be too light. And of course, you use the brush and you use your fingers and you just put your whole heart into it and have fun. Not sure if this is Bob Ross style, but I couldn't find a happy medium with the water and the palette on the tin, on a paper, so I just put it on my hand. And it seemed to work out better. I was just trying to get some exact consistency. And then I took some straight from the tin without any water, and I put it at the base of each tree trunk to give it a grounding effect. And it worked for me. The weather outside is frightful. The fire is so delightful. Since we've no place to go. Oh, hang on. All right, Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White on a fan brush, getting it on the paper, having fun, singing, and of course, just letting it snow, let it snow, let it snow. So it's time for our little red birds. All you need is a little red teardrop of paint, a little protrusion for the beak, fill in that teardrop, and then you just do some sticky uppy feathers for the tail. Is that a word? Sticky uppy? They do not have to be precise, but I have one in each tree. None of them are perfect, but they're cute. And here is the close-up of each one. Adding the darker splatter, I've used green with a black base, and it just adds such a good, rich layer. And I can't forget to spread the Christmas cheer with Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. What does Betty say? The best way to spread Christmas cheer is splattering white, both far and near. I have officially been corrected by an elf. Adding some thicker ink for tree trunk and branches. It wasn't all bad, but I did come back and do some corrections in a little bit. I started to edit it out, but decided to leave it to show you how to correct that and to tell you sometimes less is more. Even though my hand is in the way, I didn't want to skip this step. I took the micron pen and I just inked around all the little birds. Inking birds. Bird is a word. Word that you heard. Using a fine liner brush, I'm adding a little black to the bird to hopefully give the idea that this might be a red cardinal bringing a visit from somebody that you love. Here she comes to save the day. Not really, but what I am doing is going back with that fine liner brush again, but I'm picking up some brown and I'm laying it over the top of that black that became too harsh. As I looked at the entire picture, it was just too harsh. So I took that brown and I just almost laid that liner down as I'm painting and just working those harsh edges into a little bit of softer look. It's finished, dried, and ready for the tape removal. I'm always anxious for this part, so I forget many times to do what I'm supposed to do, and that is to apply heat before removing the tape. Whether it's washi tape or painter's tape, if you'll apply heat, it comes off very easily. So here we are at the end with what I think is an elegant, breathtaking project, but yet so simple. I know you can do it. And I hope that you also will like, share, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, whether you just watched or you played along and ended up with your set of these tags. I have an order for one of these. They're going to frame it just like this. I'm going to cut some others up for family and friends and use this as my master. Either way, I hope to see you on the next video. Bye. Then you could order some you could order some at with. Subscribe and like. I hope to see you on the next video. They're not going to watch if you keep acting like that, are they?